Putting together rage bait is easy, but putting out unironic cooking content and get hated on, that takes some skills. Today we're gonna try out some serious recipes that received a large amount of negativity, because I'm just an angel, you know? I give a second chance to Cupid, so I'll give a second chance to these controversies. There's a fried rice coming up. But not just any fried rice. It is the start of the Uncle Roger IP Auntie Hersha's BBC fried rice.
British Broadcasting Corporation. Okay, that BBC is okay. Uncle Roger not into the other BBC.
I was trying to find the recipe online, but I think BBC deleted the recipe and the video because of the backlash, which I don't think it was that bad. The lady in the video was such a good sport about it. Made multiple videos after that with Uncle Roger. Quite a lot of aromatics in this dish: onion, bell pepper, grated ginger, and garlic. For the rice, I'm not gonna boil in water and use a colander to drain it. I found a crazy hack. So you see this microwavable instant rice that you get from any grocery store? The rice inside is already cooked and like air dried. So technically it's at its ideal condition to be turned into a fried rice. We'll just put it straight in cold and see what happens. So whisk 2 eggs with a liquid fork, of course, and start cooking it first. After cooking and setting the eggs aside, we'll start cooking the vegetables with a little bit more oil. Then we'll put in the instant rice, eggs, and some scallion. We'll turn the heat back down to medium-low and use the moisture that's evaporating from the vegetables to kind of steam it and separate it. And then we'll season with soy sauce, and that's pretty much the whole recipe. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10.
First my wife leave me, now you scrape pan with metal. Hiya.
Honestly pretty good. I think using microwavable cold rice straight into the pan is a pretty genius technique. You should try it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'm so proud of myself.
Oh, I'm so proud of myself.
Exciting news, by the way. We finally finalized the merch design. I read all your suggestions in our members community. Definitely be incorporating them into this and future drops. Less than a week till the drop. Watch out for my video next week. Channel members will get extra perks as usual, so you can join through the link in the description.
Oh, TikTok.
If any recipe could be deemed as questionable on all aspects, it has to be the pink sauce. August the Duck made such a great video covering it 2 years ago, and it's literally called Don't Eat It. Here's a short introduction from him.
The ingredients not having FDA approval, making up things for the nutrition labels, not making sure that the product is refrigerated when it is shipped.
I didn't know all these until I saw the video. You should go check it out if you want. But I found a recipe online consisting of ingredients with FDA approval, so we can check it out ourselves at home. The base of it is going to be a lot of mayo. Not surprised by that. Have a cup. I was having such a hard time trying to find dragon fruit. Like, where do you guys buy this fruit? And I spotted it in the frozen section, like a smoothie blend. All we need to do is pour it out and pick out all the pineapple and mango and stuff and just put in the dragon fruit pieces. Am I a genius or what? Let me know in the comments. A teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion, half a teaspoon of dry parsley. What does that do? 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 4 tablespoons of milk, 3 tablespoons of oil, and 1 tablespoon of honey. I was gonna reach for the maple syrup, and I realized I ran out of maple syrup, so 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. Diluting it a little bit with water. It looks like a breakfast smoothie for the insane. I guess we're supposed to eat it with chicken tenders. I don't have that type of luxury item in the freezer, so I'm gonna substitute it with boiled chicken breast, which I always have access to. So let's give it a dip, think about my life a little bit, and give it a taste. It tastes like a fruity cane sauce. With that being said, I kind of like it. I think if you added just a little more smoked paprika to it, you can't even tell this from a cane sauce. But overall, I think if the ingredients and the process are treated correctly, it's actually a good sauce. It's so much better than the recent trend, the glittery sushi thing on TikTok. You know, TikTok is kind of weird. I know it's very ironic coming from me because I started as one of those weird food talkers. But still, like, this is pretty weird. Maybe the picture I used earlier was not the best representation of it. This behemoth of a sandwich is probably the OG of what we now call a viral dish, backed up by a famous person, and people talked about it non-stop regarding its absurdity. The food's goat loaf was born in Denver, Colorado in the 70s at a place called the Colorado Mine Company. In 1976, Elvis reportedly flew from Memphis to Denver just to eat the sandwich. So literally him and his entourage boarded his private jet, flew 900 miles, picked up a few Fool's goat loaf, and ate them on the tarmac back with champagne. So it's fairly certain that they were not sober. But this journey cemented the sandwich status as the rock and roll food mythology. It's actually super easy to put this sandwich together. Now we're gonna bake a whole pound of bacon on a sheet tray 350 for 10 minutes first, flip to the other side and bake for another 10. I would use a wire rack, but it's too difficult to clean. While it's in the oven, we'll prepare our bread, which is just a whole loaf of whatever you have on hand. We'll gut it out to make space for what can only be described to be a scary amount of topping that's about to show up. And we can turn the scooped out inside into homemade bread. What am I kidding? I threw it away. On one side, we'll scoop out and spread a whole jar of creamy peanut butter. I feel like a suburban mother making lunch for the kids right before going over to my neighbor to have an affair. And on the other side, you probably already guessed it, a whole jar of grape jelly. And in the middle, we'll stuff with a whole pound of the crispy bacon we just made. I don't want to hear it, guys. My creative culinary decision to have it as charred. Because remember, we don't use the B word here. You know, this kind of makes me miss the old times when you can impress the biggest celebrity of the time with this. Here's the cross section looking like a portal to America's past, present, and future. This bread is crusty as hell, yo. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. Yes, it is very messy to eat, and I don't have a private jet crew to clean it for me, man. It tastes like it was created after an 11-year-old went on a tantrum. This tastes like freedom, not only in the way that it pretty much represents the entirety of American cuisine, but also it's giving, mom only made me tuna salad back in school. Now that I'm a big boy, I can stuff a whole pound of bacon in PB&J and eat a whole loaf type activity. This dish has bacon, an obscene amount of sugar, also reminds us that we have free will, so I'll give it a 9 out of 10. If you're Italian and have anger issues, I'll suggest skip the next 3 minutes or so. With more bacon in the house, we're gonna make a British carbonara sauce. The base of the sauce is gonna be Parmesan. I'm gonna grate about a cup of it. Then add 1 egg and half a cup of heavy cream. This is what makes it British. A lot of black pepper, we're gonna mix it all up. Bacon into a cold pan, and we'll add a little bit of water to help extract the fat better and also minimize splatters. Then gently on medium heat, we're gonna like push it around to separate it completely and just let it sit to crisp up. We're gonna add the cooked spaghetti in with the starchy water to try to emulsify the bacon fat in the water to turn it into like a semi-sauce. Once the temperature of the pan decreases so we don't make scrambled eggs, we'll add in the sauce from the bowl earlier. Finally, frozen peas for the vegetable content and to make it more British. I turn the heat off at this point. The residual heat from the pan should be able to cook the raw egg that's in it. Once the cheese melts and the sauce looks smooth, we can just plate it up. I don't think anything with this amount of bacon and cheese could be bad. When you mix the real Italian carbonara sauce with the American fettuccine alfredo sauce, you get the British carbonara. It tastes like the white sauce pasta I had almost every day for dinner throughout high school, so it's pretty nostalgic. I'll give this one a solid 7.8 out of 10. British cuisine gets hated on for no reason, honestly. Fish and chips and baked beans are 2 of my favorite dishes of all time. Speaking of British cuisine, let's talk about the most famous British grilled cheese on the internet. Okay, not only did he decide to put kimchi in the middle of the country bread and Saggio cheese, as you can see over here, like he looked at it and realized the cheese is hard and put it back down, to slice it down the middle again to see if the other side of the cheese is melted. The most hilarious part though is the comment section. Despite all the success, there's at least one dish I can cook better than Gordon Ramsay. The comments are cooking Gordon more than he cooked the cheese. I love how there's perfectly normal stove in the kitchen, But Gordon decides to go for the fireplace in the living room. Sorry for the display of emotion back there. What can I say? I freaking love the comment section, man. The two cheeses that he used for the sandwich are both really hard aged cheese. This is a pecorino, and this thing, the black stuff, is Asiago. They're both pretty hard, so it's gonna be difficult to melt them. I might be very much extremely biased, but I think the best cheese for a grilled cheese sandwich is definitely raclette. It's literally for melting. And here comes another confusing part of this sandwich. He puts kimchi in the middle of it. I don't eat kimchi that much, but I do enjoy it with cheese. But it's just a weird combo on paper. I feel like sun-dried tomato will sound much better. After brushing one side with butter, we're gonna put it on the stove on medium-high heat. You don't want the heat to be too low because we're trying to like recreate Gordon's dish. So we gotta make sure the bread is almost burnt and the cheese still stays hard. While one side's searing, we'll butter up the other side. Flip, keeping the heat on medium-high, push the bread down a little bit to make sure it all comes together. After like 2 minutes on each side, it's done. It's a grilled cheese, you know, it's the simplest dish. Looking at the cross section, I think we did it perfectly. The outside is almost burnt. The cheese slice is still in its individual hard blocks. And on top of that, I think the kimchi is still cold. What a perfect execution. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. If you're not expecting a melty, comforting, soft grilled cheese, this tastes very pleasant. Like you're having a picnic with like aged hard cheeses, pickles, and some bread, and you like stuff them together and ate it. All the individual elements in this dish is great, but putting them together could be a little overwhelming, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Our next recipe, or technique per se, is the ultimate combo of internet meme culture and YouTube cooking. I don't think people perceive this video negatively, more so just trolling. But so many great memes came out of this 5 years ago and it's still pretty relevant today. The best part though is the comment section, which we'll take a look at after we try it. In a stainless steel pan, we're gonna do the water test to see if it's hot enough. Then in goes avocado oil and the steak. You wanna hear the sizzling. It's a New York strip, so we gotta render the side fat a little bit. The longer you do it, the better, but I don't have that much patience. So the steak has been searing on this part of the pan. You don't want to flip it to the same part because it decreases the temperature of the surface area. You want to flip the other side to sear on a brand new hot area. The steak is not that thick, so it'll get to medium rare before 10 minutes. Now it's time to season our cutting board with salt, pepper, and a little bit of garlic powder. In the video, he also used some fresh herbs. I don't feel like getting it. After 7 minutes of resting in a piece of foil, we'll put the steak on top of the cutting board, cut it into pieces. And did we get medium rare? Let me know in the comments. Now we'll just kind of like toss the steak around with the juice and the seasoning, kind of like a salad, and just let it sit on the cutting board for another 5 minutes. After all that waiting around and prep work, I don't think much happened, but the difference is in the taste. I don't taste the difference, but it's still good, you know. Plus, as I stated before, the real best part about this video is the comment section. I actually tried this recipe. I can confirm. The most delicious cutting board I've ever eaten. I always season my stomach lining first, followed by swallowing raw skirt steak, and then drink boiling liquid last. I season both, even my frying pan. You can also season your house to give it extra flavor. I click on this video sometimes just to read the comments, yeah, for real.
I actually prefer to season the tree before making the cutting board.
I prefer to eat the toilet paper before pooping, so it wipe itself on the way out. The best comment is, I prefer to season my mouth, eat the steak raw, and then light myself on fire. I think what sums up the video of why I season my cutting board, not my steak, is this comment. Why I watch the comments, not the video. Overall, very wholesome, witty comments. Adam's got a great fan base. It's called a spaghettio loaf, 2 words that have never led to anything tasty ever. This might look like a rediscovery and reconnection to 1960s American cuisine, but it's actually just pure trolling. It was created by the internet just to make fun of that retro style cooking and the obsession with jello. Knowing that it's a joke might give you some hope for humanity, but unfortunately, some people took it seriously and started making it for real. So today we're gonna give it a real taste as well. So starting with 1/3 of a can of condensed tomato soup, 1/4 cup of water, whisk it all together and add in 2 packs of jello powder. After adding the powder, it's gonna like clump up a lot in the beginning, so you just gotta keep whisking it on medium heat till it's combined. Then the main character, 2 whole cans of spaghettios. I don't think I've ever had it in my life before. Thank God. So this will be an interesting way to introduce myself to this creation. So we'll grease up a pie dish. Pour everything into it, into the fridge for 24 hours until the jello settles. Now we'll flip it over, it should come right off. Finally, topping it off with the wieners, here is our spaghetti-o loaf.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass it like Stockton.
I mean, it's basically just tomato soup jello. It shouldn't be that bad. So let's give it a taste and rate it 1 through 10. You know, don't kill me when I say this. It kind of tastes like lasagna. It's pretty good. 6 out of 10. Salt-based $1,000 golden steak might not be that questionable as a recipe because, you know, we all know the gimmick here, but it did receive a lot of mocking. And the New York restaurant now sells like an even more expensive one for $2,000. I wonder if somebody places an order for that $2,000 steak, the waiter goes back into the kitchen to tell the chef, and the entire kitchen staff will rush out to check if Mr. Beast is here or just in a crypto bro. Also, is it just me or does Salt Bae gives off prehistoric Ashton Hall vibe?
Cappuccino!
But anyways, today we're doing the Nurse Golden Tomahawk for $1,000. I went to the best butcher shop in the West Village and got this dry aged tomahawk, which was only like $100 by the way. I feel like if you're charging $1,000, at least let the meat to be dry aged, you know? But I don't think he does that at the restaurant. First step, I've watched enough Guga and Max the Meat Guy to know that we're gonna dry brine this. So a very thick layer of salt and pepper into the fridge overnight. I'm being extremely generous with the salt here because, you know, to like penetrate this thick meat, you need a lot of it. And the next day, the tomahawk shrank a little bit. The salt completely penetrated, seasoning it throughout. So besides having it as dry aged, what else can I do to make it more expensive? Maybe just to cook it in the perfect way. What I imagine would be foolproof is just to sous vide it. So I put it in a plastic bag, vacuum seal it. I'll drop it in for 2 hours at 122. Too big for my meat, yo. Close the lid. 2 hours and 22 minutes. After we take it out of the sous vide, we gotta shock in ice water to stop it from cooking any further, because right now the temperature should be at the perfect point. For like 2 minutes on each side, maybe. You don't have to do it for too long. We'll take it out, pat it completely dry with a paper towel, heat a pan up till really hot, a decent amount of oil to develop a good crust. The steak is already cooked at this point, so very briefly on each side to give it like some color, because we're about to baste it with brown butter. I'm just gonna use a lot of butter here. I would use herbs and garlic and stuff, but I feel like with the dry age, you don't want to like mess with the flavor too much. If the butter is bubbling too much, you can either add another cube of butter or lower the heat. You want it to be like bubbling on top of the steak like this. At the same time, butter is also browning in the pan, adding another layer of flavor to it. After basting all these steaks with the butter and stuff, I'm getting really good at basting, so I guess you can call me a master baster. The total time spent in the pan is probably 2 to 3 minutes. Remember, the steak's already cooked, we're just trying to do stuff to the surface. Finally, we'll rest on a rack, wrap it in tin foil, and rest for 8 minutes or so. Moving on to a cutting board, time to whip out my 24K edible gold leaf, priced at a whopping $30 on Amazon. Where's the rest of the $870? I guess labor. It actually just might make sense, because using gold leaf, try to attempt to cover a whole steak is really difficult. It sticks everywhere and like kind of flies around and stuff. Okay, I think the trick is just to pull out a whole sheet and just slap it on there. I felt kind of superficial just having done that activity, but I like it. Look at this golden tomahawk. I'm about to be blinded. That final sprinkle of salt bringing all the elbow grease into the surface. Cutting out a piece, one side is golden, shiny, and glamorous, the other side is just bloody murder. Can you find a better representation of capitalism? But regardless, I love it. Let's give it a taste. I'm afraid to say this, but I can't really taste anything. Does the gold leaf actually do anything besides possibly hurting my teeth? I'm getting a gold denture on the budget here. But with these gold flakes on my steak, I do feel a lot more fancy. Maybe this dish, the value of the dish is more in the how you feel rather than how it tastes, you know, make me feel important. I'll pay for 1,000 if Salt Bae actually comes out himself to sprinkle it. When the salt is sprinkled by FutureCanoe, I feel like they owe me money. The only thing that can take this to another level and maybe sell for $5,000 is some Frank's Red Hot. Anyways, the steak is great. I highly recommend that butcher shop. In total, I spent about $130 on this whole thing, so I'll give it a 9 out of 10. At least now, after consuming all this, I can proudly call myself a golden steak warrior. At this point of the video, we gotta sweeten it up a little, and I eat a plant-based diet, so we're gonna make an avocado chocolate mousse. This one's super controversial. All vegans love it. People who never had it are kinda grossed out. Whenever there's something like this, the FutureCanoe community gotta make the final decision. So that's 2 avocados, a 1/4 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder, dessert MSG, and 3 tablespoons of honey. Are you surprised that I'm not using maple syrup? Some salt and 2 ounces of melted chocolate chips. It's not a necessary ingredient for the recipe, but it is for me. Bro, look how smooth it just got. I feel like I'm one of those Swiss chocolatiers they put on the advertisement. This looks like the best chocolate fudge you can put on your ice cream. So let's give it a taste and see how good it is. I took a really small bite because I'm doubtful, but this freaking rocks my world. If you don't tell me there's avocado in it, I can't really tell. It just tastes like really well whipped cream. I do wish it's a little sweeter though, so 8.5 out of 10. And finally, to stay in theme of the channel, we're gonna make a Campbell tomato soup cake. Starting with obviously a whole can of tomato soup. I know I have a male dominated audience, and if you're a guy, if you see this next clip, you're gonna be like, hell yeah, just watch. Oh, that's really satisfying. To that, we'll add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, whisk it together with a liquid fork. Then in a separate bowl, a cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of butter, combine, and then add an egg. We'll keep whisking it until it becomes a little bit fluffy and pale, like that. Half a teaspoon of clove, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and finally a little bit of salt. At this point, the baking powder should be making the tomato soup a little fluffy like that. Or just pour it straight in. For the dry ingredients, there's a 1.5 cups of self-rising flour and a bunch of raisins. I know that's pretty questionable. I would usually just skip it, but I wanted to like carry this full recipe out to see how it tastes. Respect to the tomato can, you know. Into the baking dish with the oven on 350, we'll bake it for 45 minutes to an hour. This is not in the recipe, but I have a little bit of chocolate chip left, so I'm gonna throw it on top. I don't even remember this have tomato in it. Took it out after 50, we'll let it completely cool down, and time to give it a taste. You know what it tastes like, guys? It tastes like a carrot cake, but the flavors are deeper than a carrot cake. I know there's hella naturally occurring MSG in that tomato soup, so these 2 chemicals might be the ultimate combo. This is a great cake, by the way, just need some cream cheese icing. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next time I make caramel sauce, I'll put a little MSG in it and let you guys know how it goes. At the end of the video, I want to mention the fact that despite all the internet trolling, most of the people we talk about today are still wildly successful. Criticism from strangers hardly ever matters when you're trying to better yourself and those around you. If you're working towards a positive goal, whether business, academic, or personal, don't let other people's opinion interfere with your focus. What's truly important in life are all within: your honesty, discipline, passion, and faith. Sometimes the separation from outside influence is the best way to achieve your inner peace. You are a FutureCanoe subscriber after all, so I believe in you. Alright, thank you.